get to play with a Bosch inverter system this morning. This particular one, Bosch were fairly interesting little units. We installed a good bit of them several years ago. However, when COVID kind of took over, it became very hard to get parts for them with shipping and everything else. Warranty parts became very, very hard to get a hold of, and a lot of the distributors in this area dried up as far as getting the units or getting the parts. They all just stopped selling them, so they've become much less frequent. This particular one, I believe I worked on maybe 2 years ago for these particular people. They had it installed. Whomever installed it had some issues, couldn't get it straightened out. Turned out it was a bad board on the outside unit, and it really wasn't so much that the people couldn't get it straightened out for them. It was more of a could not get the part for it. I believe I got over there, saw what was going on, ordered the thing, and even at that point it took maybe 3 months to get that circuit board. So in all that era, we kind of stopped selling the stuff, moved on to other inverter systems. Not to say it's a bad unit, I actually like them a good bit, but if you can't work on them, can't get the parts for them, it makes it a little difficult to sell. So I see very, very few of them these days. But we'll drop by and see what we can find. So we got out here, and if you're not familiar with it, that is a Bosch inverter drive board. Our LED was displaying H5. I couldn't get my camera out of my bag, was talking to the customer. But essentially that, as I recall, we'll look at the diagram here, but an H5 is 5 times protection and 100 minutes lockout. So basically it was locked out because it had faulted several times in the last, a little over an hour and a half. So essentially I just disconnected main power, disconnected our low voltage, and we're going to let it reset for a few minutes. These have lots of large capacitors and fun things on them, so you do not want to touch this board for several minutes after it's disconnected to allow everything to discharge. But we're going to let it sit for a moment and reapply power and see what our lockout was actually telling us, and go from there. This is just our low voltage connection here. So we started up. We do have our call for cool. Going to go ahead and hook our gauges up and see what kind of pressures we're getting, as that P2 error, or at least warning, is low pressure in cooling or heating. The air compressor just started. We're seeing our numbers here. That is actually our run percentage that the unit is actually running at the moment. Being an inverter drive system, it's able to crank itself up and down a little bit depending on pressures and temperatures it's seeing. So what I'm seeing currently is a low pressure issue. We're running a negative subcooling, and then also running a very low pressure on this side, running at 29% currently on this guy. I may switch it over to heat just to be sure, because we could have a expansion valve fault. We've allowed our short cycle timer to expire, so the unit did come back on heat. These are B units, so their natural state is essentially an air conditioner. You have to power the reversing valve to go into heating mode. They do not like switching rapidly between modes, so it does shut down, have to go through a delay timer. As we can see, we are building up into the 60%, and our suction looks correct, and our head looks correct for our temperatures. So that tells me we're not low on refrigerant. We've got a stuck expansion valve up in the attic, most likely. Essentially, if they stick in cooling mode, the pin drops in and it will not let any refrigerant or very little flow through, as it's not really responding, opening and closing as it should. So we'll see what looks like low refrigerant on the outside, but if we run it in heating mode, it essentially bypasses that little needle, flows around it, the opposite direction, and our pressures look normal. So that tells us we have a stuck valve. If it were the other way around, where it looked wrong both directions and we built up a whole lot of pressure out here, that would tell us that we had a pre-screen or a dryer or something jammed. But running 67–70% out here at those pressures, temperatures we're at right now, this particular case, we have a bad expansion valve upstairs. We'll go get a model and serial number off of it and see if we can get something ordered for them and go from there. You already got it going?
Yeah, I turned it on and about to pump it down.
Yep, good call. That's what I was going to say. These you don't have to do any kind of pump down procedure with, I don't think. You can just hook yourself up here and close your liquid line. Purge your gauges. You're going to have to use the inside of your gauges or your manifold to pull the refrigerant from one side to the other. Purge your center line too with your vapor.
Oh yeah.
Close off our liquid side. Once you get to about 25 pounds on your overall gauge pressure, slowly kind of start closing off your suction side.
Yeah.
And eventually this guy will start shutting itself down.
We got no suction.
Yep, so open up through your gauges once you get that closed.
Yeah.
Just allowing the refrigerant to use the manifold to get from one side of that valve to the other. Pump into this outdoor unit to save as much as we can. Alright, we're about where we want to be. Start closing this guy down. Ended up having to use an Allen wrench. Even the stubby one we got won't work. We don't want to pull these down to 0. At least I never do. If you had a perfect system with no leaks, you could, but I never trusted. Alrighty. Approach 0. Unplug this guy, finish valving it off, and we'll go upstairs and get the TXV replaced.
Yeah. He's getting better. He really is.
Yeah.
Just stupid. Get some light tucked in.
Do it.
Yeah.
Let's see if we slide the hole.
I mean, other than getting to it, so far this thing getting it out has been easy. Oh yeah.
Make sure also when you put that back that your stub out's facing up. I didn't notice if that one was upside down or not. But because you have liquid in there, you don't want it draining back down that bulb. So always try to orient where your outlet is on the top or the farthest up end. So,
Alright. Cut off a little coupling piece.
I'll let you do this for a moment and go answer the phone.
Alright, have fun.
The O-ring for the top is laying right there.
Alright.
This is Jarrett. Doing pretty good. How about yourself? Run itself. There you go.
Beautiful. Hopefully that'll be good. Try not to suck it up in there.
While you struggle with bolting that on, I will go
Start vacuum. Well, no.
I can't start a vacuum now.
Yeah.
We'll pull our purger off and put our nitrogen on for high pressure.
Okay.
Leaking.
Somebody would have forgot that one.
Get in there, boy.
Pull it out maybe more. Oh yeah, that's gonna be way easier. Doohickey button right there. And we're gonna take our itty bitty wrench and we're gonna counteract the forces of evil.
Keep the vibrator at 150 pounds.
It looks happy. It looks like there's no bubbles.
While you do that, I shall bring on this torch. I'll take the torch out so I'm not wasting a trip.
Good enough. I mean, I gotta get some tape for that, but electrical tape. Banana. I'm getting scammed by. Oh. Okay. No.
Alright, we have our vacuum going, already pulling down into the microns. These particular units, we should be okay. We were able to save most of the refrigerant when we pumped it down. However, there is a little bit of loss, and we don't really know if the charge is correct to start with due to the expansion valve being jammed. So we'll teach Jacob how to charge a Bosch inverter system. They're a little bit different. You do that so you won't ruin the vanes on your pump. We're going to wait a few minutes, make sure the vacuum holds.
15 minutes?
Yep. We got this guy on, want to crack your valves back open down here. So when it starts up, we'll have to pull this case off, and I'll show you how to force them into charge mode. Hidden speed. Now that we are running, it should tell us a percentage, so that's no longer temperature. That's literally the percentage that compressor is running. So if you tap that force button, but don't touch anything else, you'll see it say F or whatever that is. It should ramp up to about 75%, and that's making it ignore its pressure, temperature, everything else. It'll take it a minute to get there, but it'll ignore its normal way of running, so that it's going to be running at least 75%, so we can't charge it. Be careful with these, especially when you press those buttons, because these are killers with these big capacitors and everything on there. Even when the power is turned off, normally give it, depending on the manufacturer, but I believe these say 45 minutes to power it off before you mess with anything, because those capacitors do hold enough charge to make you not have a good day. Released Jacob back into the wild as he had another appointment to get to, and charging these guys can be somewhat of a long process just due to the add a little weight. So I will just continue watching this for a little while, and once we get closer, we'll call it good. We're sitting about where we want to be. 78 degrees subcooling, 38, 39 degree vapor saturation point. So I'd say we're done, and we can button it up and find somebody else who needs us. So that was pretty interesting. We had a Bosch unit giving us a fault that wasn't the Bosch unit's fault. It was really the carrier unit's problem. Those expansion valves can do that from time to time. That particular one, you know, it could have been the diaphragm getting a hole in it. It could be the spring itself being, or pin itself being jammed. It could have been the little refrigerant bulb losing pressure, not really working anymore. But all in all, we just ended up replacing the valve. That one, the replacement valve we got, they come in all shapes and sizes. Lennox likes using bolt-on all sides. Others do braze-in on all sides. That particular one was a bolt-in on one side, braze-in on the other. The replacement we got looks like they're going over to bolt-in all the way. So we still ended up having to reattach our liquid line to it. And as far as our equalization tube, there was not a stub out or a fitting to attach their compression fitting to on the older system we had, so we ended up having to braze that on. We could have done a stub out, but it would have defeated the purpose. I kind of didn't want him getting too close to those drain pans and melting them, so instead we just made a little coupling out of some 1/4 inch tubing and pulled it out so you'd have room to do it without endangering any plastic. So got that taken care of. Those Bosch units can be entertaining as far as charging them up as well, because being that they are an inverter system, they will modulate their compressor up and down depending on the load they're under, ambient temperature, you know, lots of different things. So if you just hook up your gauges, turn it on, look at it, a lot of times, even when it's severely low, it'll look just fine. And you say, oh, nope, nothing's wrong, you're good, and run away. So you have to put it in that force mode. That way it will essentially ignore all of its sensors, not modulate down. And at that point you can actually see what the refrigerant charge really is. So we did have to adjust it a little bit. It was about a pound, I believe. But some of that's just due to loss. Even though we did pump it down as low as we could, you're still going to lose a little bit. And then on top of that, it is a new valve being put in there. So going to work a little bit different, so it might need some adjustment. And then on top of that, again, we don't really know if it was ever really correctly charged. Couldn't really correctly charge it because it was a mismatched system, so there isn't really no charging chart for it. We were just doing our best guess, I guess you would say, as I was shooting for around 10 degrees plus or minus 3. So when we got into that subcooling range, we called it good, and we'll move on to the next one and see what else we can get into. We'll probably meet back up with Jacob when he gets done with his job he's doing and find some more fun stuff to do.